Good evening, everyone. It was the most politically sensitive case before the Supreme Court this term. The ruling has dealt a severe blow to the Reagan administration and to private schools that discriminate. As Jeff Kamen reports, the justices have ruled the government is obligated to enforce a national policy against racial bias and must deny tax breaks to schools in violation.
I'm the originator of the whole thing.
January 1982. The president insists it was his idea to overturn 12 years of IRS policy denying tax-exempt status to private schools that discriminate against blacks.
There was no basis in law for what they were doing.
But the president was wrong. The IRS had routinely granted status to schools that discriminated until a three-judge federal court ruled in 1970 that a Mississippi school that discriminated was not entitled to the tax break. But the Reagan administration announced it planned to grant tax-exempt status to Bob Jones University of Greenville, South Carolina, and Goldsboro Christian Schools of North Carolina. They were appealing the IRS ban on their exemption to the Supreme Court. When the case was heard in October of last year, the lawyers for the schools said their clients' racial policies were founded on religious beliefs and therefore should be shielded by the Constitution from the IRS action. The Supreme Court today rejected the arguments of the schools. Writing for the majority of the court, Chief Justice Warren Burger agreed with the IRS and said, "A racially discriminatory private school is not charitable. The government has a fundamental overriding interest in eradicating discrimination."
Not too much difference in us anymore in Russia, because Russia did this to religion a long time ago. It just took us a little while in America. We'll pay the taxes that we have to pay, and we'll trust the Lord to sustain an institution as long as he wants it sustained.
The chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus was pleased.
The message is very clear. The Supreme Court has said that this administration was wrong.
The Reagan administration had insisted that only a new act of Congress could deny the tax-exempt status of schools like those involved in this case. So today's high court ruling comes as a defeat for the administration. In response, the president said, "We will obey the law." And his Attorney General, William French Smith, issued a written statement in which he said, "The law is now clear." So the IRS is back on the case, and schools that discriminate on the basis of race won't get a tax break. Jeff Kamen, Independent Network News at the Supreme Court.